Campfire Classics is a classic literature podcast. However, your hosts will occasionally use not-so-classy language and immature humor to describe very mature situations. As such, listener discretion is advised. Hi, I'm Ken Sandberg.
And I'm Heather Michelle Lawler.
Welcome to Campfire Classics, where we try to read those books that look really good on your shelf.
We're still in Puerto Rico and the food sucks. That's all I have to say about this shit.
Well, speaking of food, happy Thanksgiving, campers. Because by the time you're listening to this episode, it'll be Thanksgiving.
Will this come
week.
out that week? Yeah, it will.
Yep.
See, this is now I understand some of my favorite podcasts, like the ones that are like super uber duper successful that record like 20 episodes in a week. And they're like, oh yeah, it's July, but Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah. By the time you're listening to this podcast, it will be 6 days after my next birthday.
Yeah.
And
today is my birthday. So it's like, yeah. So yeah, happy Thanksgiving. This will come out, 2 days before?
Yeah.
Which will also be my opening weekend, my opening shows. So when you're listening to this, I will have taken my first bow as an actor in almost 2 years.
Well, hey, then congratulations and happy opening.
Thanks. That feels weird to say considering we haven't even done tech on the ship yet. But yay.
No, it's okay. When you record this early, it's like you're a time traveler.
It is. Well, there you go. I'm a time traveler. That kind of fits into this week's theme a little bit. Not really at all.
Ooh. Oh. I was always intrigued and excited. And
I don't know what these stories are about. I just pick them. I don't read anything about them for the most part.
Yeah, that's always a trip. I was not prepared for a unicorn last week.
I want to just point out, so really weird. So unicorns, you were a unicorn for Halloween like a couple years ago. We have a unicorn in our calendar coming out, our Patreon calendar for 2022.
Which I am hoping that as you are listening to this, dear camper, I am hoping to have that calendar ready to come out in the next week and a half.
Hell yeah. So I'm just going to say I was the photographer on this calendar, and these photos are not only fiery and sexy, but hilarious. So...
You're welcome.
Yeah, I wonder, do people know? So we made this thing back, I don't even remember what month it was, but many, many months ago. We said if we got to a certain amount of patrons on Patreon in a certain amount of time, we would do a Mean Girls, sexy Halloween costume calendar, but it would be on Ken.
This is true.
Where you, and the whole Mean Girls thing is you put on ears and a sexy outfit, and you're like, I'm a sexy mouse. I'm a sexy frog. I'm a sexy can of Lysol. Women do that. And
this is true. And listener, just so you know, right now, I am a podcasting tiger.
He's a podcasting tiger. Yep. In a tie, actually.
Yep. Yeah, but this is my sexy animal look.
Yeah, if you become a patron, and you can become a patron for as little as $2 a month, which is crazy. So if you listen to us every week, then that's 50 cents an episode. That's cheaper than soda.
This is true.
That's way cheaper than a Starbucks coffee.
Soda every week for the price of being a patron of 50/50 Arts Production.
Of us, because, that's how we keep up with this brilliant technology that we have, because we're recording thousands of miles apart from each other, and we wouldn't be able to do that if we didn't have patrons.
We are currently in separate time zones, thanks to the fact that Puerto Rico doesn't celebrate daylight savings time.
They don't, which has been really wacky. But we're going to sail for Miami on the 15th, and we get to Miami on the 18th. So sometime in there, they're going to change the clocks, and yeah.
Right.
So then I will be back, and then I will time travel, and I will lose an hour of my life.
Right. Just another way you're a time traveler. You're an extra hour ahead of all of us.
Yes. But anyway, about the unicorns, I went on a tangent there. Yeah. Those have been a theme this week. So our creative team, who is not in quarantine because nothing makes sense on this ship, they made us little care packages that were sent up in biohazard bags, people. They were literally in biohazard bags because that's how things have to be delivered to us. Because, and the people who deliver us our food are in like fucking hazmat suits from ET. And
Sure.
Yep, which has been on TV a lot. But there was a baby unicorn, like a little mini unicorn in the care package. That's a little eraser. It's a little baby unicorn, and I got it the day after we recorded the last episode. And I was like, "Whoa!"
That's awesome.
I was like, "It's unicorn theme."
Speaking of hazmat suits and time travel,
Oh no.
do you know what today is the anniversary of?
I feel like I've seen this popping up on social media, but I haven't been on it that much. So no, please tell me.
On November 12th, 1955, lightning struck the clock tower in Hill Valley and sent Marty McFly back to the future.
Yeah, he did. That's right. Amazing. Love it.
At 10:04 p.m.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap this episode a little before that, but I will celebrate it. At 10:04, we're going to be at sea, so we're sailing tonight so we can refresh the water system. And I will look up in the sky and think of Marty McFly, and I did not mean to rhyme like a cool guy.
Very nice. I like it. Although I suppose, strictly speaking, that'll be 10:04 Pacific time.
Oh, yeah. So that's
which will
real
make
late.
it like 3:04 a.m. for you.
I will be asleep.
I certainly hope so.
I will be asleep because, trust me, there's nothing to do. So going to bed is a good thing.
Getting to what it is we do.
Tell us, Ken, what do we do?
So, doobie-doo, she-doobie-doo. Dear camper, if you are a first-time listener, and if we're doing our job rights, every episode is somebody's first episode, what we do here is sit around a campfire in our minds and read short stories sight unseen. We give them cold readings for you to listen along with, more or less live. I'll be reading a story this week that Heather has chosen for me. I'll be trying to give characters voices and dialects, and I'll be trying to read words I've never seen before, and we'll be trying not to break out laughing and going on lengthy tangents every time someone says something accidentally that's actually a penis joke.
Which is more often than you would think.
Which is surprisingly often.
Yeah. And I would love to know if other people hear them or if it's just in my brain.
Well, I hope that our listeners hear them before we start laughing at them, because every week we preface it by saying, hey, guess what? Sex jokes. So you really should be on the lookout for it.
Yeah. So this week was my turn to pick story for Ken. So I did that. And I have sort of broken the rules again. So this week we have another one of those stories that is accidentally in public domain. Just because it is. Basically because the person didn't care and was like, meh, I put it out in the public, so now it is the public's kind of situation.
Great. We love those loophole stories.
Yes. So the story is by Winston K. Marks. Winston K. Marks. And I would love to tell you a whole lot about this person, but I Googled him for like an hour, and the most I could find is this. He was born in 1915. He is a U.S. author of science fiction short stories. He also went by Win Marks and also used the pseudonyms Win Kinney and Ken Winnie at times.
Right.
So,
as is often the case for this era of science fiction writers, he just couldn't decide what he wanted his name to be.
Yeah. And clearly, so I do know that he didn't start publishing. And so this is what it says. So he began publishing with a story called Mad Hatter. And that was published in May of 1940. And that is his first known published work. And then he wrote a story called Manic Perverse on October 1941 for the magazine known as Astounding. And then he disappeared completely, or he wrote under pseudonyms no one like actually tracked, because he was not published again until 1953. So 12 years later. And he published one of his most known stories, which was called The Water Eater. And that was published June 1953 in Galaxy magazine.
Okay.
So after this, he published nearly 60 other stories in the next 6 years.
Ooh.
So he published 2 stories and then went away for 12 years, and then he published 60 stories in 6 years. So his final 2 were for San Francisco magazine, and they appeared in the late 1960s. So, and he was a science fiction writer, and some of his stories were anthologized after his death. But really, I could not find anything else except he was born in Spooner, Wisconsin in 1915, and he died in 1979. That's all I have.
Are we sure he was a real person and not, in fact, an alien who came down and assumed a human name to write?
You know, Spooner, Wisconsin does sound like a fake place.
Right? Well, or it's either fake or it sounds like the kind of town that, like Roswell, New Mexico, would be the place where aliens would crash and just inhabit.
Accurate. That is very accurate. So we don't know, because I couldn't even find a picture of this man. So
it's because he's not a human. He's not a real person.
I'm going to go under that assumption for the rest of the story. So as we read this.
Awesome.
So I'm going to tell you the title, because the title then leads into a few more fun facts that I have.
Okay.
So this story was first published in Imagination magazine in December 1954.
Okay.
And it was, the magazine cost 35 cents at the time, just so you know. And the story is entitled "The Vegans Were Curious," which is why I picked this story, because I was like, that's a hilarious title for a science fiction story. So I just wanted to tell you a few celebrity vegans that I did not know before this story. This
is just your vegan version of Adam Sandler's Hanukkah song?
Yes. So here we go. People you didn't know were vegan. So a few that I already did know. I did know Woody Harrelson was a vegan. Mm-hmm. He's been vegan for 30 years. He was one of the first celebrity vegans there was. And he's been very vocal about that. Same with Moby. Moby's very animal rights and PETA and stuff.
Right. So, he was a vegan back before it was cool.
Exactly. So I did do a little research on veganism, because I was going to try and do a deep dive into vegan, and it dates back to before BC. It's there are cultures that have practiced veganism for since the beginning of documented time. So
I had no idea.
For different reasons, for whatever reasons, but some were religious, some were animal rights or animal cruelty things. Some were just where they lived. They had to live off the land, and they did not have access to animal protein. So they found a way to have other protein. But some of the ones I did not know, Lizzo is a vegan.
Oh.
As in Bootylicious Lizzo, one of my favorite artists right now. So she was actually a vegetarian for many, many years, but she decided to go vegan during the pandemic in 2020 because she had, time. So she celebrated her 6-month anniversary as a vegan on TikTok for everybody. She has 8 million followers. So she was she said, quote, "As a new vegan, I'm really enjoying exploring flavors from plants and plant-based proteins. Every journey is personal and deserves to be celebrated." So, yeah. So she's been very much sharing that with the world. Alan Cumming is a vegan.
That doesn't surprise me.
It doesn't.
I didn't know it, but that doesn't surprise me.
He's hippy-dippy, and he's actually a huge PETA person, which also doesn't surprise me. Sia the artist, the chandelier artist, the one with the wig that you never see her face. She's vegan. And then I'll end with this one because I could go on and on. It goes on for a long time, but this one's kind of my favorite because I'm like, what? Peter Dinklage is vegan.
Huh.
Yeah. So he was vegetarian for 15 years and he went vegan in 2014. And he does it for like environmental purposes and whatnot. He's also been a very avid spokesperson for PETA since Game of Thrones because people were adopting huskies and like big dogs because they wanted a dire wolf, and then they were not taking proper care of them and like sending them to shelters. So I don't know if those tied in together, but like he's become very outspoken about said things. But yeah, so there's some vegan fun facts for everybody. But there's
Lovely.
Jason Mraz is also one.
Again, I didn't know that, but it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, he went to AMDA. So we have a tight connection with him. But anyway, so you will be reading today The Vegans Were Curious by Winston K. Marks the Alien.
Awesome. Let's start this fire.
Let's do it.
The Vegans Were Curious by Winston Marks. The little sun was almost a light year out of his way, and he could have made it on to Sirius without stopping, but the thirst within him was strong.
Oh, this starts out creepy. Sounds like a Kurt Vonnegut, honestly.
Well, it sounds to me like this is just going to be Winston Marks's story of how he came to Earth.
Oh, maybe it is autobiographical. Uh-huh. Okay, okay. I'm in.
The delicious yellow sun with its rich corona and tiny, tantalizing streamers was too tempting to pass up. Even before its gravitic currents were strong enough to be of utility, he was decided. He would pause. He would gorge himself. He would drink until he was blue-white.
Wait, is he gonna eat the sun?
Or at least eat the solar radiation.
Or maybe he photosynthesizes. Maybe this kind of alien is like a photosynthetic alien. So if he just like lays there like a leaf, he literally soaks up the sun and is re-energized.
That's like oh crap, what's her name? The one character in the show Farscape. The blue lady. She gets energy from the sun, and sometimes she lays in the sun and has photogasms.
That's hilarious because how I've been passing some of my time in quarantine is laying out on the balcony for about an hour a day sunbathing because I'm literally trying to soak up vitamin D for happy juice. I'm trying to soak up happy juice.
Yeah. You're having your own little photogasms.
Yeah, I wish they gave me photogasms. That would be way more fun. But I just tend to sweat. That's really all that really happens to me. But
the thought was the first pleasant, sensuous one he had allowed himself on the long journey, sounding more and more photogasmic.
Yep, he's gonna have a good old time in the sun.
In his haste to indulge, he ignored the 9 planets, which normally would have attracted at least a curious glance from him. Not until he veered physically to avoid the 3rd planet from the sun was he distracted from his goal.
Third rock from the sun? Third rock from the sun? Wait, is Winston Marks just John Lithgow's character from Third Rock
actually,
from the Sun?
He's probably Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character on a previous mission because Tommy is the oldest of them. They just stuck him in the kid's body.
They put him in the kid's body, which he's all pissed about all the time. Yes.
Yeah. All right. So this is Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Winston Marks, who is actually an alien.
Who photosynthesizes and orgasms.
A bevy of the clumsy little spaceships from distant Vega. Oh.
Oh.
The title of this story is not The Vegans Were Curious. The title of this story is The Vegans Were Curious. It is the race of aliens from Vega.
No! Oh my God! No! Well, that's the first on Campfire Classics. I just gave you random fun facts that don't mean a fucking thing. Well, I don't know. If he photosynthesizes, then he's vegan.
This is true. I am going to continue to pronounce it as Vega and vegans because I think that's funny.
Yes, you
are.
But,
dear listener, please, 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 for the love of all things holy, do not write in and tell me I'm pronouncing it wrong. I don't care.
We have, as we said, we choose these sight unseen. There was very little information on the story, and we purposely don't do research. So now it's vegans.
They're vegans.
Vega.
A bevy of the clumsy little ships from distant Vega were swarming just outside the planet's turgid atmosphere. As he approached, one of the vegans noted his presence and hailed him. "Greetings, Syrian. Stop a bit and give us your worthy opinion." Although the message took but half a microsecond, the Syrian was almost past the planet's pale satellite before he could repolarize his photons and reverse his direction. Being the haughty creatures they were, the vegans' invitation was both unusual and provocative.
Ooh, this is so dirty. There's a lot of sex tension going on.
And provocative.
Yes, sensuality and whatnot.
The Syrian noted as he returned that the flight of one-man discs seemed gathered around a mushroom-shaped cloud of opaque gaseous matter, entirely cold except for a modest radioactivity. When he shot out an open query, the vegan answered, "They did it. Those incredible little organic creatures down on the surface."
It's funny because they're vegans and they're talking about organic things. See?
Yes, but they are talking about organic humans.
People. I know.
And
I know.
I'm fairly certain eating human is not vegan.
I don't know. I'm sure there's some like vegan cannibals. Like, does it really count when you're taking out assholes? Is it like Dexter? Like if you only eat the bad people?
See, I tried to get that past my mom back when I was a kid.
Wait, what?
I told her that I wanted to be a vegetarian when I was a kid.
Yes.
And I didn't know what that meant. So she slowly started explaining to me what meat actually was, and I was trying to deal with it. But one night I asked, "What's for dinner?" And she said, "We're gonna have pork chops." And I was like, "Oh, okay. What are pork chops?" She said, "Oh, well, they're made out of pork." I said, "Oh, okay. Wait, is pork meat?" She said, "Yes, pork is meat." And I started crying. And then I said, "Well, what kind of meat is it?" And she said, it's pig. And I cried some more. And then I said, "But was it a good pig or a bad pig?" And Mom said, "It was a bad pig."
Good. Okay. I have a very similar story, and then I will let us get back to the story. I also tried to go vegetarian because I loved animals and everything. And so I was going vegetarian. My parents were just like basically letting me eat spaghetti and beans like all the time. And then
Great.
I found out because in my 5th grade class, our like class animal was the turkey because our teacher was named Mrs. Tate. And so we were Tate's turkeys. And she would give us fun turkey facts randomly. And I learned that turkeys are so stupid that they will look up when it's raining with their mouths open and drown themselves. And so I told I told my mom, I got home from school on the bus and I said, I can eat turkey now because I might get a turkey that killed itself. So then I started eating turkey.
If it was a suicide.
Yeah, it was a suicide turkey. It's what he wanted.
I'm willing to eat animals that are dumber than corn.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So then that slowly turned back into just me eating meat. But like that's for a long time, turkey sandwiches and like turkey was all I would eat for meat wise. But
so does that mean it's okay to eat a particularly stupid person?
That's what I was asking. Stupid and or evil.
Well, and is it vegan to go down on someone?
Or is it cannibalistic?
I don't know. I'm just saying because your real vegans also won't wear anything that's leather or buy any products that were like tested on animals.
That's true. Vegans, please write in and let us know. Do you perform oral sex?
Is it vegan to go down on someone?
And now back to our story that has nothing to do with vegans. This was the right choice. I'm bringing Ken along on my quarantine crazy.
Oh, shit. Yes. They did it. Those incredible little organic creatures down on the surface. I don't remember if that's the voice the vegan had, but it's the voice he has now.
Yeah, that was it.
Close enough.
I think.
It's a little, Muffy.
Oh, Muffy. Yes.
Creatures? You mean there is an intelligent organic life form on this planet? The Syrian asked, somewhat incredulously. He had passed the system 100 times without suspecting such a thing. Well, not exactly intelligent in a galactic sense, but likely you'll agree that the principles of fission and fusion are somewhat remarkable to find mastered by a planet-bound life form as primitive as these entities. They are ordinary liquid and solid carbon ring ferroprotein bisymmetrical bipeds, you know, the kind you find scattered about on these oxygen-rich planets. But imagine nuclear manipulation.
Wow.
Those
That was the weirdest description of humans I've ever heard. I love it.
Oh, they're so cute with their little nuclear bombs.
And their little legs and whatnot.
And they're all solid and carbon-based. Isn't it adorable?
So cute.
The Syrian found the paradox both curious and amusing. Never, to his knowledge, had solid matter life forms advanced beyond a rudimentary use of chemical combustion reactions. And even those who did master fire more often worshipped it than made a sensible use of it. Interesting. Interesting indeed. I think I will have a look. We were hoping you would, the vegan replied. We've done all the investigating we dare. How is that? They've spotted us, we think. Every time we come close to the surface, they dispatch little gas expulsion vessels to chase us. Why don't you simply land and establish communications? With our limitations, we're not that curious. They're a violent, vicious, suspicious lot, some 2 or 3 billion of them, and they have nasty little weapons at their disposal. Their nature seems to be to hate what they don't understand, shoot first, and question later.
Holy shit, that was the most accurate description of humanity I have ever heard. So first the weirdest and then the most accurate. So
do we think that this guy, Marx, Well, no, he
Has
wouldn't
an
be
opinion?
related to Karl Marx because he's an alien. But do you think he was trying to set himself up modeled after Karl Marx because he clearly has some relatively leftist views of humanity?
He clearly, I mean, he sounds a lot like H.G. Wells in that sense, like very much commenting on society through science fiction, which a lot of like H.G. Wells has been like our primary, that one that we've really like noticed has done that. But like we've had so many, like H.P. Lovecraft does that. Any of our
the pulp writers that we've done,
all the pulp writers, which is this era, like this is the era where you couldn't outright say it because of McCarthyism and like all that. Like you could not be anti-American at this time or you were a fucking like socialist. But if you were kind of a socialist, you could get away with it by being very clever. So and we know, and this is in public domain. It's in public domain because he just let it be.
Anyway, don't go down there. They're violent.
Amen.
Thanks for the warning. Not that you need it with your metamorphic abilities. You can easily, of course. Now, on what question did you seek my opinion? So apparently, this guy, the Syrians.
Which is, I keep thinking, why are the Syrians there? Oh, because it's a different kind of Syrian.
Syrian as in from Sirius, not as in from Syria.
Yes.
Yeah. So apparently, the Syrians are capable of shape-shifting, which explains why Winston Marx was able to blend in with human beings.
Yep, and he's learning all this from the vegans.
Yep. Now, on what question did you seek my opinion? The vegan was slow in answering, as if the question were still hazy in his mind. Then he said, "Our observations seem to indicate that these creatures are divided into two general categories, but the only distinctions we can detect are so superficial as to be ridiculous. One is in the manner of attiring themselves, and the other—" He paused, as if reluctant. Yes? Well, this may seem fatuous, but all reproduction appears to be confined to one of the types. That would be unique, the Syrian granted. But if this is true, there must be more important differences between the two types, the vegan went on. Basic differences, one would expect. Then your question to me is, what are these differences, if any? Precisely. How very typical of the superficial vegan mentality, the Syrian thought to himself.
Oh, Jesus. We are not meaning to offend anyone. We are not meaning to offend anyone.
If you are a vegan from the planet Vega, well, take it up with Winston Marx.
Yeah, but he's dead.
Well,
we don't.
Officially.
Yeah, I could find no even place of death. So clearly he just disappeared in 1979.
Yep. He just went home.
Yep. He's just E.T. phone home.
Him and Elvis, they just went home.
Yep.
Worrying themselves over some minor biological detail when the obviously fascinating mystery lay in the creature's ability to cause nuclear fission and fusion. These thoughts he screened from them, for the vegans are quick to take offense, a rather childish lot for all their advanced culture.
It's not funny, but it's funny.
Yeah.
I have many friends who are vegan and I love you all, but it's pretty funny because because they're not, anyway, you know what we did.
Because they are quick to offend and rather childish.
Yeah. Yes. Oh. As we head into Thanksgiving, if you're eating what's a soyurkey or what's
Tofurkey.
You know what we're talking about.
Tofuruckin?
That sounds like you're saying something else. Toe-for-uckin'? I'll toe-for-uckin' you.
Yeah, I think it's toe-fuckin'.
Toe-fuckin'. I'll toe-fuckin' you. There you go. Trademark. Any of you meatless products that want to like get down on that, contact Campfire Classics, and we will go in on that. Yep. We can do some awesome commercials for toe-fuckin'.
Dear camper, do not Google toe-fuckin'.
Or do, but just don't do it at work.
Or do if that's what you're into, but that's a very specific website that you're about to pull up.
I heard from a few people that remember we asked where people listen and when, and I heard from a few people on Twitter that said they listen at work, like when they're just, doing mindless tasks. So yeah, don't if you're listening to us at work, please do not Google toe-fuckin' on your work
also,
computer.
If you're listening to us at work, I assume you're wearing headphones because... Very well, I will look into that, too, he agreed, and with appropriate interstellar amenities, took his leave earthward. He looked for a concentration of people.
It's in quotes.
Yeah. Listener, could you hear the quotes around the word people? Because it's there for some reason.
People.
He looked for a concentration of people, and he found one scattered along 2 miles of sandy beach adjacent to a nervously lapping body of liquid, which was aqueous, saline, and incredibly full of lower life forms.
Oh, shit. They're at the beach.
They're at the beach. He hovered over the heads of the bathers at an altitude of less than 50 feet, his person distributed almost the whole 2 miles of beach. The sun being at its zenith, no one looked directly up, and if they had, they would have seen only a faint golden glow. He scanned the general atomic, molecular, cellular, structural patterns of the entities, inventoried his own energy content, decided he could just about make it, and set about carefully condensing his photons. As the swirling energy came to a focus, people still did not stare up, but hundreds sought the shade of their beach umbrellas, donned their sunglasses, or decided they'd had enough for today. Presently, he had himself organized into a ball of evanescence 200 yards in diameter.
Evanescence are aliens too?
Are you really surprised?
I mean, that doesn't surprise me. Her voice is unreal. So bring me to life. She's actually trying to become a human. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what that song's all about. Presently, he had himself organized into a ball of evanescence 200 yards in diameter, all ready for the final compression. This was the most tedious metamorphosis he had ever attempted. All those nerve endings, hair follicles, pores, sweat glands.
See, sweat in the sun. That's real.
He found a bare patch of sand some 15 feet across, just vacated by a family of 14.
Holy
In
fuck.
a rush, he sought to complete the transformation before the crowd expanded into it. But wait, there was one decision more. He had indeed discovered there were 2 kinds of humans, again in quotey fingers, on the beach. The physiological differences seemed very minor, and the deciding factor was that one category wore attire only in one place, whereas the other covered its body at 2 points, thus excluding a bit more of the delicious radiance of the golden sun.
Yeah, ladies can't show their titties for some strange reason in the world.
For some reason,
No, I know
yeah.
why. Because men suck.
Well, it's just because your nipples serve a function and ours don't, and so we're jealous.
Well, you're also really strangely attracted to our functional nipples. So, And so, this alien just said it. Women get gypped at the beach because we don't get as much photo glory because our titties are covered. That's why when I lay out on my balcony, I undo the back of my back so I don't have anything covering my back.
No tan lines.
No tan lines. And I won't do that in the front because I will say my friend burned her nipples in a tanning bed in high school, and she said it was like the most painful thing that she has ever experienced.
You could just like put stickers over them.
Well, that's what they give you those in tanning beds actually, and she just didn't do it once and like burned her fucking nipples.
Anyway, there are two types of people.
Yes, there are. Men and women.
He decided to be a male. Well, he's got a nerve. I should say so. Look at the skinny little runt right in the middle of that nice empty spot. Oh. Tell him to move over, Fred. We saw it first. The Syrian smiled at the palpable lie. Please, share it with me, he said pleasantly, scooting over to one side. His move was too precipitous. The long-legged blonde creature, pink and supine, hunched to a sitting position. Watch it, Junior. You kicked sand all over my suntan lotion. Oh, sorry, he said.
They're definitely in America.
Oh, sorry. He sent a super gentle wave of vibratory energy out to wipe off the offending grains of silica.
Hot. That's
super gentle vibratory energy. This guy's gonna be good at parties.
Yeah. It made me immediately think of Bruce Almighty when he's like, he turns into God and he's like, meh. It's like
Yipe! Why, you fresh punk! Then the blonde discovered that the fresh punk was still 6 feet away. She turned to her henna-haired companion. Ye gods, what a sensation.
He just said
Goose
he got
flesh yet. Yep.
Ye gods.
She rubbed some more lotion, turned over on her side, and dug her blue-clad hip into the sand under her blanket. The Syrian studied the shapely back and buttocks, for which his brand new orientation, he seemed to possess a peculiar aesthetic appreciation.
Oh no, when he turned himself into a man, he became sexually attracted to women?
Apparently. I mean, if he did a good job of replicating the brain and chemical processes.
Well, I will say, I know we talked about this personally once, but the movie Earth Girls Are Easy, starring Jeff Goldblum, Damon Wayans, and Jim Carrey, they are aliens who take on male form, and they are definitely attracted to ladies when they take on that form.
The intruder, called Fred, in the act of spreading his blanket, noticed his stare and laughed. She's not for the likes of you, Super Mouse. Oh. The idiomatic allusion escaped the Syrian. He had thought he had the language pattern mastered in his initial survey, but the item, Super Mouse, apparently had a remote significance. Instinctively, he lashed out a sub-etheric feeler to probe the man's brain, and just as instantly retrieved it. To his annoyance, he discovered an extremely sensitive and complex network of brain waves encasing and protecting the frontal lobes of the man's thinking apparatus. Yes, his subconscious mind was easily available, and therein was stored a fabulous assortment of inconsequential intellectual debris, including a knowledge of the language. But to sift and sort that disorganized nest for one silly term seemed like more trouble than asking what it meant. So he did. Fred replied, "You don't know Super Mouse? You should go to the movies. Anyhow, I just meant you could use some meat on your bones, fella."
Maybe he's not allowed to write Mighty Mouse because Mighty Mouse is trademarked.
Very possibly.
That very well could be why.
That's entirely possible.
Because it sounds like they're
certainly
talking
trademark-
about Mighty Mouse.
Yeah, certainly trademark and copyright law and whatnot was in effect. So it's entirely possible that he's just
he's
trying
just
to stay safe, legally speaking.
hilarious.
He turned and dropped beside the brown-haired female beside him. What a character, he told her. The Syrian looked down at himself and understood the disparaging tone. This point in his intergalactic journey had found his energy store quite depleted, and the best he could condense into was a rather grotesque 5-foot caricature of the specimens surrounding him. His bony feet, knees, and elbows wore the minimum allowable thicknesses of flesh, but what seemed to amuse the neighbors most was his very pale skin. This was by design rather than accident. Why pigment his skin to exclude the intoxicating solar energy that was flooding his pitiful earth form? If he had dared, he would have changed his translucent skin to complete transparency, but that would have been too noticeable. He became aware also that people were staring at the region of his groin.
Did he give himself a giant penis? I hope so.
Before he had time to probe his mistake of attire, however, another couple moved into the shrinking bare spot of sand and challenged his right to 3 whole square yards. "Consolidate, will you, mister?" The male was huge, hairy, and small-eyed. The female, the opposite. The only visible hair was a rippling torrent of yellow gold that fell down her back in a graceful sweep. She was tiny, tanned, and, the Syrian fumbled with his new vocabulary, terrific.
Wow.
Again, that peculiar sensation of pleasure sent bubbles of pressure into his throbbing temple veins.
Temple veins or balls?
I was going to say temple veins. That's not where I throb. He had a name for the weird desire it inspired. Rut, it was called. But he had no experience from which to assess it.
Is he describing being horny? I don't know.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Unfortunately,
just making sure that my mind isn't being dirty and this is actually where the story is going. Okay.
I'm fairly certain this is actually what the story is saying.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. The choices were correct.
Unfortunately, the man before him assessed his emotions swiftly and accurately. "What you gaping at, squirt?" "Why, you're female." The man's face darkened, and the Syrian rushed on, searching for a more propitious term. "I mean, you're broad, wife, sweetheart, girl, doll, honey." Hampered by the sluggish mental equipment in this human format, he was unable to select a semantically acceptable synonym, so he blurted out all he could think of. "Why, you..." He felt himself hoisted rudely by one thin arm, and suddenly the large, dark face was jammed into his own. "What do you mean, laying there in a broad's bikini bathing suit and calling my broad a broad?" Oh, my apologies for the language I am about to use. "What kind of queer are you, anyhow?"
Wait, the guy's like staring at the women and he's into it. But is he
He's
wearing a bikini?
Woman's bathing suit.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
That's why everyone was staring at his groin, because he's wearing a women's bathing suit.
And his balls are like probably coming out of it.
Yep. Well,
amazing.
He's probably looking like, you know, you go to the ballet and one of the dancers forgets to wear a dance belt. That's
awesome.
That's the situation you're looking at.
He should have just gone to a nude beach and he wouldn't have to worry about it so much.
So anyway, "What kind of a queer are you, anyhow?" Oh, I'm very, the Syrian managed to strangle out. Very what? What you said. Queer.
Which is different, or he's using the definition of different or odd. Yes.
He had no desire to offend these people, but their expression indicated that his progress was poor. Are you trying to be insulting? The man asked the question and seemed to arrive at an affirmative answer simultaneously. He balled his fist and pumped it solidly into the Syrian's midriff.
Rude! This guy fucking sucks.
Yeah. Anticipating pain from the violent gesture, he blocked off the nerve endings, reinforced his stomach muscles at the expense of some bony tissue, and leaned into the blow. Transmuting the kinetic energy into assimilable light, the Syrian enjoyed the tiny tweak of power.
He got off on it. He's like, yeah, that felt good. It kind of tickled.
The big man jerked back his wrist and stared at it. Like a rock yet, huh? Wipe that smirk off, Mac. I beg your pardon? Still snotty, huh? The big fellow slammed 2 lefts and 2 rights to the body with no more effect. The gorgeous blonde said, "Oh, stop, Tony. He's one of them, what do you call them? Masochists. He likes to get slugged. Now stop it, I tell you, or the cops will..." But Tony
He's into BDSM. Stop hitting him. He really likes it. Also, who goes to the beach and just starts punching the shit out of people?
apparently Tony.
Tony is a dick.
But Tony was unstoppable. Infuriated, he aimed a roundhouse right at the Syrian's chin, and that individual, fearing for the structural inadequacies of his neck, ducked. Tony launched himself at full length into the direction of the blue-buttocked blonde, but made it only as far as her upright bottle of suntan lotion. He crashed to the sand with considerable force, twisting his neck to save his nose from the sand. Tony brought his temple in deadly line with a rigid little bottle. From the solid jam of humanity came voices. "Wow, did you see that little guy counterpunch him just like lightning?" "Nah, the big guy stumbled. He hit his head." "On the bottle. The little guy. Yeah, he jabbed the big guy with the bottle. Dirty fighting, I call it, even if he is littler." "Here they come. Hey, Shorty, here come the cops. Better melt away quick." Things were out of focus for the Syrian. He lost the opportunity to melt away and was shortly in custody. The hearing, and later the trial, was so farcical as to be fascinating. He hadn't intended an extensive study of the mores and morals of this primitive culture, but the Syrian couldn't resist the intriguing developments that piled one on top of the other.
Wow, this is very timely with the whole like Kyle Rittenhouse fucking judge and the whole like just exposure of the shit show that is our justice system right now.
In the so-called court of law, not a single witness to the actual murder appeared.
He
except
died?
the terrific blonde.
Wait, the guy died?
Yeah. He took a swing at him, he slipped, he fell, and he cracked his temple on the bottle of suntan lotion.
Well, yeah, I didn't know he died. They didn't say he died.
Well, I mean, it hinted at it.
Well, yeah, but I thought he just like got knocked out or something. Like, fuck.
Tony brought his temple in deadly line with the little rigid bottle.
I missed the word deadly, I guess. I just wasn't expecting him to throw a punch and miss and therefore kill himself.
And then fall down and kill himself, yeah.
On sunscreen.
Yep. Although since he killed himself through stupidity, much like a turkey, that means
we can eat him.
Cannibalism is okay, right?
We can eat him, yeah.
Yet a sizable parade of strangers did appear to identify the accused and testify to his cold-blooded act of violence.
Oh my God.
It developed that A, Tony was a gangster politician of some note.
Clearly.
B, Tony had mortal enemies in the underworld. C, Tony had been deliberately baited. D, the Syrian had carefully jabbed him in the temple. E, the crime was premeditated. F, the Syrian was a well-known judo killer named Mike Sledge of the opposing underworld. This last from the DA's office.
Oh my God. Oh no. No.
The verdict was guilty. The penalty, death.
Oh my God.
As a last wish, the convicted man was granted the privilege of immediate execution rather than enduring the usual delay. This last threw the death house into quite an uproar, but the Syrian had no intention of languishing for weeks in confinement. Exactly at midnight, he was led to the death chamber, sleeves and pant legs slit, head shaved, and belly full of fried chicken to which he had taken a fancy.
Last meal? I had some fried chicken that one day I was on the beach, and I was really into it.
There was a priest, the press, and the other witnesses. The chair looked ugly and uncomfortable, but the crackling jolts of electricity were worth it. They sent trickles of pure ecstasy through the Syrian's power-thirsty being. But
oh yeah, because he hadn't been outside. He probably hadn't been outside to like re-energize. So now
to rejuice.
Yeah, now he's getting all his good juice.
But they were only trickles and comparatively short. They tried him at 30,000 volts, 40,000, 50,000. But then he deliberately lowered his body's resistance in order to drink up more amperage and blew all the fuses.
Oh my God, this guy feels like he's like part of the Addams family now. Like I feel like he's like, more.
They held him 24 hours out of pure curiosity while the doctors had a field day, but the press championed his cause and he was set free.
Because they technically killed him, but they couldn't kill him, so he's free.
Because they did everything they could. They tried, just because it didn't work.
That's fucking fabulous. I love it.
The blonde was waiting in a black Cadillac. The blonde had just collected Tony's insurance and was now obsessed with the thought that any guy could soak up electricity like that must have shocking possibilities.
Oh yeah, here comes sugar daddy time.
The Syrian settled back in the leopard skin upholstery and sighed. The vehicle moved off into the darkness. A soft, perfumed arm slipped around his neck. My poor Mike, the voice came like a purr of a mink. I'll bet he doesn't feel well. Please don't be angry with little me for testifying against you. Don't mention it, Mike replied.
Mike, quotes, replied.
Yeah. And I feel very well, thank you. This was the truth. With nearly 1 million watts of pure 60-cycle AC under his belt, the Syrian had been able to expand his puny physique slightly. At least his red blood count was up to normal now. Only one thing, he remarked. I am tired of being pestered with reporters. Where could we go to escape them? Oh, dear. That is a problem. She looked out the rear window. They are following, of course, and they'll have my penthouse staked out like sharks around a desert island.
Oh, she loves that too. She's like, ooh, free publicity for me.
Free publicity, yeah. Take those pictures.
Hot.
That reminds me, Mike said. This bikini I was wearing at the time of the crime, she giggled. You did look silly. Well, what I want to know is, why did they call my trunks by such a name? My understanding is that Bikini is the name of an island in the Pacific Ocean. Yeah, I guess. Now, where they popped the H-bomb. H-bomb? At last, a hazy double meaning became clear to him. His subconscious survey of many humans' minds had found nuclear energy mixed up with females' scanty bathing attire, and the connection had evaded him until this moment. Could we see one if we went there? One what? An H-bomb, of course. Oh, naturally, the government would just love to show us how they shoot off an H-bomb, she said. He missed the sarcasm entirely. Matter of fact, they're testing out there again this week. Why don't you call up the president? That won't be necessary, he said seriously. In the space of 8 microseconds, he volatilized, visited the Pentagon, stripped the exact location of the next nuclear bomb detonation from an agonized general, and returned to the Cadillac. The blonde, of course, was unaware of his brief absence. Just as I thought, he told her. It's a nice secluded spot where you and I can be all alone for a little while, and I can poke around and see what makes these bombs tick.
I can poke around because we're all alone.
Gonna poke around and see if I can make something blow.
Yeah.
Fine, she purred in his ear.
That's what she heard too.
Let's go. She thought he was kidding. It was an hour before dawn on the atoll when he rematerialized the Cadillac, blonde, and all on the coral beach. Only the chauffeur was left behind. What's that sound? She cried, a little startled. Just the surf. Be darned. I don't remember telling Smith to drive us to... Oh, well, it's quiet, isn't it, honey? The Syrians sent out a probe and located the tower with the huge nuclear device suspended below it. He was about to close in and focus on the construction and composition when the voice in his ear hissed intimately, Mike, darling, where are you? Me? Why, I'm right here. Had a feeling you were miles away. Not at all. Just about 25 yards is all. It's located right over there. What is located there? The hydrogen bomb, just over the first hump. You can see the tower. Don't be silly, she giggled. It's jet black out there, real dark and private, and Smith's gone off somewhere.
And
We're
I
all
want you to
alone,
probe
darling.
Me. Come
just
probe
like
me.
You wanted.
Probe me. Probe me.
And now the Syrian, alias Mike Sledge, learned that there were other than visual methods of aesthetic appreciation. $100 a dram perfume assailed his olfactory tissues from her warm body, turning certain minuscule glands within him into busy chemical factories.
Oh my God.
Fingertips trailed over his shaved head, and he almost threw out a nerve block before he realized that the sensation was psychophysical rather than electronic.
Are we about to hear about an alien having sex for the first time?
I think this is about to turn into alien erotica.
Yes, finally, after 2 seasons and 17 episodes, we got here. All right.
Show me, she whispered. Show you what?
Your hydrogen bomb.
How you did it. How you fought back all that juice, all that terrible electricity. I didn't fight it. I just soaked it up. Soaked it? She gasped, and the passion was vibrant in her voice. It's all in you now?
Oh, baby.
Of course.
Oh my God.
Oh, my darling. Kiss me. The custom of kissing was known to the Syrian, but known only on the academic level until this moment. Her lips were moist and full and demanding. Fantastic, she said in a flat voice. Well, thank you, he said, sitting back with a ridiculous feeling of smug pleasure at her response. Fantastic how a guy can sweat out the hot seat and kiss like a high school sophomore.
Oh, damn, bitch.
Her tone of voice led him to delve into the idiomatic roots of her word, and he came away deflated. Let's try again, he suggested. He had been holding himself slightly aloof from the sensation thresholds of this primitive body, but now he let himself sink deeply into the full neuromuscular morass of feelings and emotions. The effort was astonishing, confusing, and overwhelming. Tearing his lips loose, he demanded, "What is it?" "What's what?" This, whatever we're doing. Somehow they had become oddly entwined, and his tactile sensations were blossoming like a nova.
Oh my God. First direction.
Her head slipped past his face, and her sharp teeth nibbled at his ear.
Okay.
You are a strange one, honey. It's kissing. It's love-making. And incidentally, you're doing all right now. Kiss me again, honey. All those volts. Make me feel it. Make me... He piled his hastily contrived but entirely functional orbicular organs upon hers so hard that their teeth clashed. The nova inside him burgeoned and whirled as though feeding on some hidden hydrogen-helium infusion. Minutes flashed into eternity, then an hour, and the crazy crescendo of emotion was still mounting between them. Then, at the first streak of dawn, his bony arms crushed her to him in a clasp that sent the universe exploding in one solid bath of pure nutrient energy.
Orgasm.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
His pores opened, and he drank for 1 microsecond, 2 microseconds, 3, 4, 5, and suddenly he found himself reeling into the stratosphere, up, out of the cloying air into the comfortable naked void, trailing neutrons extravagantly, strewing protons, hiccuping electrons. At last, he stabilized his mass-energy ratio, drew in his peripheral photons, and shimmered into a trembling focus. Instantly, he was surrounded with vegans, chittering with curiosity, dipping and oscillating their silvery discs in the raw, unfiltered light of the sun. Did you learn anything? A little. Did you metamorphose as a native? They asked expectantly. I did, he admitted reluctantly. Well, tell us about it, all about it. I was accused of murder, tried in a court of law, convicted, sentenced to death, and executed. Irrelevant, a vegan snapped. Tell us about the 2 categories. Did you find out about that? Yes. Is there a significant difference? They call it sex, the Syrian temporized.
Oh my God.
Come. Delete the...
None of this is accidental. That is on purpose.
They call it sex. come. Yes, that is the point.
That is exactly what happened.
Well done. Come, delete the alien terminology. There are men and there are women, he said, striving to gather his thoughts and his dignity about him. It was no use. The patina of his vastly expanded corona was a dead pink giveaway. Just 1 moment ago, he confessed, I was a man, juxtaposed with a woman exploring the differences between the categories. Were the differences important, significant? To the humans, very. He tried to sound detached. The vegans wouldn't be put aside. Naturally, they'd be important to the primitives, but how about to you, subjectively? A few minor anatomical differences, that's all, added up to very little. His words were belied by tiny streaks of badly polarized photons. So he's blushing.
Yes.
The vegans radiated ripples of disappointment, losing what little patience they possessed. One blurted out angrily, "Very well, but if you can't explain sex, what about the nuclear reactions? You should be an expert on that subject. You appeared to ascend from the very island where they just fused a lithium hydride bomb." "Bomb?" the Syrian said dazedly. "What bomb?" The vegans circled him and vibrated with cynical laughter. "So this mysterious sex had no impact on you?" The void was filled with their noxious, ill-mannered jeers, but the Syrian was still too disorganized to feel very embarrassed. "What happened to the female, the woman you said you were with? What happened to her?" asked the vegan. The Syrian involuntarily phased his photons into a mental image of the voluptuous, golden-haired native girl, but without the primitive earth body with which to react chronologically, the vision failed to renew the corpuscular palpitations which were already damping out. "The woman?" he repeated wistfully, turning toward his home star and venting a cosmic sigh. "You might say she met with a serious accident."
Oh no, he blew her head off.
The end.
He blew her head off with his orgasm, probably. It's like the age-old thing, like how does Superman and Lois Lane have sex? Well, you couldn't because the sheer force of his ejaculation would blow her head off.
Would blow her head off. Plus a bomb went off on the island where they were doing it, so.
Oh, yeah, that does it too. A bomb went off. A quote, bomb went off.
Yep, a bomb went off while he was climaxing.
Are we sure that he didn't just climax and with all that voltage in him, like he was the bomb?
He exploded the island?
He may have.
Well, that was a fun one.
That was fun, and the ship has started to move, so I'm going to lose you soon, so we're going to have to wrap this one up quickly.
But
that was crazy.
So, dear listener, please let us know what you thought about that one. A wildly sex-driven pulp sci-fi.
Was not expecting that. I was expecting something about vegans, and we got alien sex. So
we got alien sex. That's just fantastic. But yes, do send us an email or shoot us a message, 5050artsproduction@gmail.com, or any of the social medias. Just search for Campfire Classics Podcast. We're out there on all of them. Shoot us a message. Let us know what you thought. Follow, like, subscribe. Tell 5 friends that they should do the same. And when you shoot us an email, send us, include either in the body or the subject of the email this week's passcode, which is
Alien sex.
Alien sex is exactly what I was going to say.
Yep.
Alien sex.
All right. So before I lose you, do you have anything you would like to add to this particular wrap up?
I apologize to vegans.
All right. Well, and on that note, and with our apologies to all of you non-meat eaters, this has been Campfire Classics, where we try to read those books that look really good on your shelf.
I'm gonna probe you, baby. I'm gonna probe you with these carrots and some broccoli and some potatoes and some legumes. That's vegan sex, right?